Hello, welcome to the session on Stitching of Lady Suit Part 1, Drafting a Salwar. Let us look at the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to calculate the material required for a salwar, draft and cut the paper pattern of the salwar, prepare master pattern, lay and cut the salwar components for stitching. The required tools and materials for drafting a salwar are 2.50 meter into 0.90 meter of poplin, 2 brown sheets, tailor's scissors, tailor's chalk, measuring tape, L scale, French curve, tracing wheel, straight pins. First, let's look at the measurements of the fabric. The full length measures 100 cm. The hip measurement is 100 cm. The bottom circumference is 38 cm. First, let's draft a paper pattern. Lay the brown sheet widthwise folded on the cutting table. Draw the drafting of side panel, center panel and waistband of salwar on the brown sheet, following the instructions for drafting. Here are the instructions for drafting. 0 to 1 is the full length of the garment. Mark from 0 to 2, which is 1/4 of the hip measurement minus 5 cm. Mark from 2 to 3 and from 1 to 4 is equivalent and corresponds to 1/6 of the hip measurement H. Mark from 3 to 5, which is half of the width of the cloth, minus 2 cm. Mark from 5 to 6, which is the sum of 1/3 of the hip measurement H and 5 cm minus the belt. Mark from 1 to 7, which is half of the bottom measurement. The distance from 0 to 8 and from 2 to 9 is the hip measurement plus 8 cm divided by 4. Mark the fold line and grain line. The distance from 2 to 10 is half of the distance from point 2 to point 9. Next, let's learn to cut the pattern. Cut the prepared paper pattern along the cutting lines. The garment's waistband is to be cut from 0, 8, 9 and 2. The center panel should be cut from 2, 3, 4 and 1. The side panel requires cutting from 3, 9, 5, 6, 7 and 4. Now, let's learn to create the master pattern. The instructions for the master pattern are: the belt waistline for the fold down casing should measure 5 cm. For all other sides, the measurement should be 1 cm. Lay the other brown sheet and mark the outline of the waistband paper pattern. Remove the pattern and add the seam allowance to it. Similarly, lay the other components one by one and draw the seam allowance. Mark the master pattern allowances and then cut the excess brown sheet to get the master pattern of salwar with waistband. Name the cut pattern components for future reference. Now, let's learn about the layout and cutting process. Follow the given measurements and calculate the material required by using the formula: 2 times the length of the salwar plus 1 length of the body rise minus belt plus 8 cm for shaping plus 5 cm for fold down casing plus 3 cm for seams. Lay the salwar fabric widthwise folded on the cutting table with its wrong side facing. Arrange the patterns of salwar components: side panel, center panel and waistband. Mark the outline of the laid patterns on the fabric using tailor's chalk. Similarly, draw required number of components of salwar. Check the pattern positions for grain lines. Remove the master pattern. Mark and cut notches at center of center panel. Cut along the marked lines with sharp scissors. Fold and tie all the components of salwar together to prevent it from missing. Let's recap the key points discussed. Draw and cut patterns for the side panel, center panel, and waistband on a folded brown sheet. Create a master pattern by marking the outlines of the patterns on another brown sheet, adding seam allowances and cutting. Calculate fabric needs. Lay the fabric on the table. Mark pattern outlines. Cut the fabric and secure the components together. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding about the stitching of ladies' suit part 1, drafting of salwar. See you in the next session.